And so now we invite Linda Leigh Johnson to join us and talk about the alchemy of the heart.
This is wonderful. This is a holy place, and the presence of God is here. I'm really excited about this message that I'm going to be sharing with you today because it changed my life. I look out and I see so many of you that I know from the classes. Thank you so much for being here today. Just love you all. I'm going to be sharing with you today an experience that I had with a two-sentence proverb that Solomon gave us 4,000 years ago. And this is, this proverb gave me, at the time, a changed heart. It gave me new direction. It gave me love that hadn't been there in a while. And it did it in just like in an hour. It's like I had this changed heart right away. And so I'm going to give this to you today. The Proverbs are powerful. They're really powerful. They are wisdoms that can ignite your soul. They can awaken dormant codes of regeneration and open up channels of wisdom within you. Listen to what Solomon taught. I love this one. He said, "Let my word not depart from your sight. Keep them in the center of your heart, for they are life to those who find them. They are healing and health to all their flesh." Now, it's really interesting because if you kind of look at that, what he's saying is that word has such an effect on you that if you keep it in front of you, if you keep it in your heart, it actually will create healing and health to all your flesh. That's kind of exciting. I mean, isn't that kind of what we believe today? That, if we keep these affirmations in us, that it creates healing? Well, they had it way back then. And then he talked about wisdom, and he used the word she for wisdom. I love that, the she part of God. And he said, prize wisdom and exalt her, and she will exalt you, and she will promote you and bring you to honor. When you embrace her, she will give to your head a wreath of gracefulness and a crown of beauty and glory she will deliver to you. Now, even you men want a crown of beauty and a crown of glory to be delivered to you, don't you? I mean, isn't that good? I mean, I want it delivered to me. So anyway, and then it said that Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the sons of the East and the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than all men, and he spoke 3,000 proverbs. Solomon is my mentor. I love Solomon. So his works have been life and they have been healing to me. It was when I was going through a real financial difficulty. At the time, we lived in Carmel, actually Pacific Grove, and my husband was in real estate, and we had been doing really well, and I had a skincare line of products. But I forgot that all security and provision really comes from God. And I was certainly sure that it came from the checks that we had and from our bank account and, our careers. Have you ever noticed that whatever you put your faith in is if it is other than God, that it challenges you? Have you ever noticed that? You have, you know it. Anyway, my husband's career took a turn for the worst, and mine did too, and it sort of happened all at the same time. A woman had written me a check for $1,500, and it turned out to be a bad check. And she kept telling me, I'd call her up, and she'd say, because she was going to send me a new one. She said, "What? The check didn't come?" "Oh," she said, "I'm so surprised." And then we'd wait, and then I'd call her again, and she'd say, "No, I put the other one in the mail. It should be there." And another one did come, and it was a bad check, too. So I got so angry and so bitter at this woman. I was like obsessed with her. I just was thinking about her all the time, thinking about how could she do this and that kind of thing. Well, this one day she called me and she said, Linda, I'm moving out of California and I have a magnifying mirror. It's an esthetician mirror. It's worth about $1,800. And if you come to San Francisco, I will give it to you. And so I knew that I needed to go. And she said, the next day I took off, but I was still angry and I was really bitter with her. And I thought, well, what if she isn't there when I get there? I mean, that would be kind of like her. And what if, I'm wasting a whole tank of gas on this whole venture. And what if I can't find her building? And what about those hills in San Francisco? I don't know about you, but I've always thought in my mind, I'd go down and I'd think, oh my God, the brakes could go out and I could go hurtling down the hill into the ocean, never to be found again. And so and then I heard, and I said, God, please give me peace. Please, dear God, take this bitterness away from me. And then I heard this still, small voice thunder inside of me, and it gave me peace. And the words were from Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, but they were said in first person. And it said, trust me with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge me in all your ways, and I will direct your path. Wow. I remember gasping, and I realized that I hadn't really trusted God in quite a while. I had been leaning on my own understanding. In fact, I believed the economy. I believed whatever I heard, and I didn't have a firm foundation of truth at that time. All the negative thoughts about my circumstances and that woman is what I believed in. I was believing in lack, and I was believing in limitation, and all of that was my own understanding. So instead of trusting God, I pondered that proverb, and I pondered it all the way there, and I realized if my mind wandered, I had to bring it back. I had to bring it back to that place of peace where I could say, I'm not going there. I trust God with all my heart. Well, I miraculously arrived there at her home without getting lost. That was quite amazing. But then again, the last part of that proverb is, and I will direct your path. And I'd been doing that whole proverb, so, why shouldn't I get there? Anyway, the woman whose name is Carol was distraught, and she was very, very sad. And she explained to me that her husband had left her for another woman, and that her business had just gone south, and she said, I just can't get over this awful feeling that I have inside of me. She said, so I had nothing to give her but my proverb. So I gave her my fresh proverb, and it was really fresh and new in my consciousness. And I showed her that she had been leaning on her own understanding, even about her husband and about all of her circumstances, and that now she needed to start trusting God and acknowledge God in all her ways, including in her husband and including in all her job and the whole thing, and on her new adventure leaving California. I said to her, if you can trust God every minute of the day with all of your heart and acknowledge God in all your ways, your path truly will be illumined with direction. She thought I was a messenger from God, and I didn't tell her that just an hour and a half before, I'd had so much bitterness and anger towards her. Anyway, it was a divine appointment. I was amazed at how quickly everything turned around with those words. The next day, a client bought the esthetician mirror for $1,500. And, that again is part of that acknowledging God in all your ways. This proverb is amazing in that it only has 2 sentences. It contains 3 directions and 1 promise. So if you take a look at that, we're to trust the Lord, it said, with all your heart. Trust means to be confident, to be sure, to be secure. And heart in the Hebrew means feelings, the will, and the intellect. So think about that. You are trusting the Lord with all your intellect, with all your feelings, and with your will. Instead of Lord, you can say God, you can say love, you can say omnipresence, you can say higher power, whatever has meaning for you. And then it says, don't lean on your own understanding. And your own understanding is those old ego thinking that usually has to do with the past and presenting you with a picture as to what can happen to you in the future. That's leaning on your own understanding. And it's anything that makes you feel anxious. If you are the least bit anxious, I did this for one entire year. I worked with this until it just resonated within me. Now, all of you don't have to do it for a year. You will probably only have to do it for a few days, but I needed to do it for a year. And it was amazing to me because just such tremendous changes will take place. And like you saw that even after just an hour and a half of doing it, there was, I felt so secure and I felt so peaceful. It is anything that makes you feel, so anything that makes you feel jealous or resentful or angry, you're leaning on your own understanding. And immediately you go to acknowledging God in all your ways. And so you can acknowledge means to be aware of, to perceive, to regard, to know him. So you could say, I perceive and I regard only you, God, in this situation. And then you rest knowing that you're receiving super, super heavenly direction. If for one day, just one day, that we could live out of this proverb, one would radically change his habitation to the kingdom of God. Can you see that? Can you see how that can happen? I think it is absolutely one of the most enlightening things that you can ever hear and that you can live by. And it's so simple. When we hold this in consciousness, what happens is, and we act upon it, it literally gets rid of old instinctual negative beliefs and about yourself, about others, and about your circumstances. I could really guarantee it. It really does. It just wipes it out. Now think about it. You can see how it would work. Because now you're trusting something so much bigger than the appearances that are coming towards you. You're trusting God. You're trusting omniscience. You're trusting omnipresence and omnipotence. This is big. Anyway, as you are operating from this heightened state of consciousness, you find that your life is ignited now to attract to you the people and the conditions and all that is necessary for your purpose in life. You find that you are literally in a field of abundance because the attributes of God are operating through you. The alchemy of the heart begins with the very first line, trust in the Lord with all your heart. You are trusting in that eye of your being. You are trusting in something that is so big. It does not say trust the government pension, and it doesn't say trust your bank accounts or your husband. It just says trust God. There is so much intimacy that happens when you are trusting God. There's intimacy with God. There's an intimacy that wherever you go, this intimacy goes with you. And this love for God goes with you because you see that this is operating all the time. And you say, God's my maker. And you say, hey, God, it's like God is your bridegroom in a sense because God is taking care of everything in your life and bringing it to fulfillment. God is a God of fulfillment. And this is all happening within you. There are people and situations now in some of your lives as you sit here that you have been concerned about, that you've been worried about? Have you been trusting God in them? That's the whole key, is trusting God in them and acknowledging God in all their ways. This is an amazing prayer because you can trust God in all their ways, in all their circumstances. You can trust God and you can acknowledge God. And you just do this. You just kind of do this as a mantra. And when you see somebody else is upset, you can say to yourself, I acknowledge God in you. I acknowledge omnipotence in you right now. You say that to yourself, and something happens. You are planting a seed, because there's only one mind. There's only one life. And it's very, really, tremendously powerful. Every spiritual principle is in these two sentences, and the truth that can set you free. You can get up in the morning in celebration. You can say, yay, another day, trusting God all day, trusting you to live my life, trusting you with every single moment of my life, and trusting you in all of the people that I know and love, trusting you in the president or your prime minister, trusting, you can use that as a prayer for your country. Another day to trust you, to acknowledge your grace, to acknowledge your wisdom, to acknowledge your peace. All the elements of healing begin to take place in the body because you are not anxious any longer. There's a scripture in Luke, and it says, the men's hearts fail because of fear. So it's all having to do with us loving God with all of our heart and soul and trusting. When you trust, this is interesting. When you trust, you are in love. When you trust, aren't you? I mean, when we're with somebody and we really don't trust them, we're really not honoring them. But when we trust them, we're loving them. Yes, your humanity actually becomes transfigured along with the energy field around you. You see, that energy field around you, which was once possessed by misperceptions, is now touched by God, and you're shrouded with heaven. So there's wonderful, wonderful things that happen because of that. There's an incredible proverb, and another Solomon proverb, and he says, the light in the eyes of him whose heart is joyful rejoices the heart of others, and good news nourishes the bones. Now, I love the idea that I've been giving you good news today, and your bones have all been nourished. There's just something about that I just love. Anyway, that is my message today, and now I'd like to go into a meditation with you. Okay? Let's be really, really still right now. And as we enter into the peace of God, it is as if we can hear Jesus speaking. It is I, be not afraid. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, not the peace of physical health, not even the peace of physical wealth, not the satisfaction of personal desires, but something far transcending that. Something so awesome that when we experience it, it wipes out entirely the need for human solutions. And we rest in what is. And that is what we want to do now. We want to drop all concerns. We want to loose Whatever may be bothering us in any way, we want to just loose it and let it go. And we want to come into that quiet place where we can be still and know that God is God in every situation of our life. God is being abundance. God is being wisdom. God is being life, beautiful life. You can just quietly think about an area of your life, perhaps, that you have not been trusting God. Maybe there's been some strife, and you can loose that now and let it go. You're letting God take over. You have moved aside all that which is not you. And you've let enter that which is you. That beautiful identity, that I that you are. From the depths of this inner silence comes forth the healing waters. Always in the silence is everything we need. It says, I will never leave you. I will never, ever forsake you. If any of us could ever realize how much we are loved, how much we are accepted, it would make a quantum shift within us. Out of this depth of silence comes all security, comes all the perfection of everything that has ever concerned you. Something is going out now to make all those crooked places straight. And God says, I will go before you to prepare a place for you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, not with human honors or wealth, but a peace that transcends human understanding. The peace that comes when Christ is enthroned in our consciousness. Thank you.